Please let me do this right. Anyway, this is Storm 331 again. I'm gonna try this again. So basically, when you get to this point, you want to be forcing the mic, and well, I'm gonna go ahead and redo this again just to get everything caught up. I cannot believe my screen just froze up on me. I really hope there's nothing wrong with our new internet. I really don't want to have any problems. So anyway, right here, you do not want to be trying to go for a despawn right here because that's kind of impossible with Haggar. So once you gain control of him, do back jumps like this. Force this guy down here. Try to force all these enemies right down there. These enemies right here. Make sure you're at this point right here before you start moving. I'm going to go ahead and create a restore point right here. I just can't believe I just did that. Anyway, here's what happens when you do the full thing. Technically, you don't want to lose a whole lot of life there. So anyway, I'm going to create a restore point right here. But anyway, you want to have that mid-right landmine intact for this next part right here, because we are going to try to despawn 2 enemies coming up. I'm going to go ahead and create a restore point right here. Make sure you edge your screen forward like that. And that gets rid of those 2 enemies and spawns that Endori. After that, wipe out all the enemies that come forward. These enemies take 2 punches and 3 headbutts to bring down, so you don't have to worry so much. Now, this part right here is the 25/75% box. I call it that because 25% of the time it will have food. The 75% time, there is nothing. So, be ready to jump up and counter this robber just in case he tries to jump at you. Yeah, that was my fault there. I'm not going to bother picking up that food, but just to give you a general idea of how that goes. No food this time. That could be pretty bad if your health is pretty low at this point, but since we're doing a tutorial, that doesn't really matter that much. I'll go ahead and create a restore point right here. So for the next part after this scene, you want to hold up, and this is mostly to avoid being hit by the Leon that comes out. There's going to be a Leon, Grandpa Endori, and an Atlas that comes out after this. You want to move up just to mostly avoid getting hit. So unfortunately, I got Bear Hug, unfortunately. Technically, it is possible to group all those enemies together. You do want to force them over to that out-of-bounds wall. Now, of course, I don't have a whole lot of life, unfortunately. So if you're low on life, just force them to just use jump attacks for safety reasons. So anyway, just keep moving forward. Just break this barrel because we are going to be getting some enemies. Just wipe out these enemies, and that's pretty much it for this part. Go ahead and create a restore point right here. Now, technically, if you do not break the barrel, the enemies out of bounds will do that for you. That's a little bit more of a safety net, just in case. But anyway, right here, you want to keep this barrel right there intact, because we are going to set up a despawn. And this Elec will appear on the upper right axis right there. So be very careful, because he might do a charge attack. Okay, so that was pretty bad. I'm going to go ahead and redo that. But technically, we're going to keep that barrel intact for a despawn after this next force move. Just wipe out all the enemies that come up, while at the same time not breaking the barrel. So normally, if you're playing this casually, you will see an Elliot that would appear on the upper left axis, but because we kept that barrel intact and it counts as an enemy, the Elliot doesn't spawn there. So keep moving forward, watch out for this guy. And that's pretty much how you do that part. Break these two barrels so you can force to set all three enemies to appear. Now, we do have a Grandpa and Dory, a Scott, and an Elec that appears. It's very similar to round 2 for the most part, at 2-2. So, now if your health is low at this point, I recommend taking a death right here. That way you get your health back up for the next part. And just do the best you can to group all the enemies together. Now, in easy mode, this is pretty easy to deal with because you only have like 4 enemies. But keep in mind, on higher difficulties, you will be dealing with a lot of enemies with higher health, namely the Andoris. So you want to be right there when you trigger this next part. So right here, though, you get 3 enemies almost right away. One time in the past, I did successfully despawn all 3 enemies by knocking them all over to the left side and then quickly get over to the other side. I'll try that again. Well, that failed, but the whole idea is to get at least one of them out of the way. Now, the Joes do come forward after that. So you're pretty much safe at this point. So we're going to go ahead and take on Bracken next. And Bracken is probably the most difficult member of Mad Gear's bosses, aside from Rolando and Philippe. This is because Bracken has a very extensive move list. His move list includes shin kicks, a regular punch, a dash punch, two forms of jump kicks. One is the more common one you'll see with the long-range jump kick. If you're too close to him when he does decide to go for a jump kick, he'll do a short-range one, but you probably won't see that a whole lot. Aside from that, he also has a shoulder tackle charge and he can also do an over-the-shoulder toss on you too. Now, Bracken's pretty unique in terms of all the bosses. I think Freddy and Bracken are the only ones with different enemies to fight on difficulties. Bracken is notable because on easy you only have to deal with Mix and Scots. In normal mode, you still deal with Mix and Scots with an Atlas. Hard mode replaces the Mix and Scots with Atlases and Johnnies and a Joe. And Expert mode is probably the most difficult because it includes mostly Leons and a Joe. So 4 Leons and a Joe for Expert. So that's pretty bad. So what I'm going to show you right here is a setup that you want to do. There is a trick that Haggar could do to keep Bracken from approaching you. Apparently the AI moves Bracken whenever your character is at a specific range. And thanks to Haggar's punches, it is possible to strike him outside of his range without having him trigger to move towards you. But it can be very difficult due to the head stops that enemies collide with your punches and whatnot. So I'm going to try to give you an example right here. That was pretty poor. So he did just try to go for that short jump kick just now. So I'll try this again. It's not a very easy setup to do. And that's how you take out Bracken. But I should point out, though, that when you're dealing with Bracken, unfortunately, fishing for that spot is kind of hard, especially with you dealing with enemies that emerge. But technically, a lot of times I have a very hard difficulty of getting this sweet spot for the most part. There is another way of getting this, but it requires moving Bracken out of bounds. So knock him out of bounds. But technically, I'll do that again. But yeah, you can also knock Bracken out of bounds and hit him with that exact technique as well. The one thing you do have to watch out for is the enemy reinforcements coming from behind. So we'll do that again one more time. But yeah, that is a very... I don't really go for that one a whole lot, to be honest, and that is because of the enemy reinforcements. It's probably best to go with this first strat overall. Technically, that's how you pretty much deal with Bracken. Unfortunately, the problem is, though, when you're going for this strat, it can be very hard to pretty much nail the sweet spot because, aside from that, Bracken does have a chance of executing a jump kick at you, and that can be sometimes difficult. So there is no guarantee you will get this every time. Now, technically, you can still do the infinite on Bracken, but his attacks do come out more faster than yours, so that could be a bit of a problem. But technically, Haggar does have a difficulty of nailing Bracken with that attack, for that strap because of the enemies coming at you. But overall, if you can master it, it pretty much makes your fight with Bracken a lot more doable. But yeah, that's the short range jump kick you try to do. I'll try it one more time and pretty much call it in for the stream already. Technically, you do want the characters to be right at the upper axis. Now, sometimes you can actually take advantage of Bracken's jump kick and basically set up your setup point there too. Alright, that's going to be pretty much be it for round 3 overall. I'm going to go ahead and create a restore point right here. So, I know this one's a little bit more shorter than the others, but there isn't really a whole lot to talk about, to be honest, aside from the despawn attempts. But anyway, for the most part, round 3 is just pretty difficult for the most part. You could lose up to like 1 or 2 lives speedrunning this, and it could be very difficult. But as long as you remember to put your character at the bottommost plane when you move to the second force point with the 6 landmines, you could get rid of you could force that Elliot into one of those landmines, take damage, as well as get rid of the lag. And of course, if you keep that mid-right landmine intact, you'll be able to set up a despawn attempt. But keep in mind that Mick and Mark will usually be put up on different planes depending on the RNG for the most part, wherever the AI decides to make them do. So it can be very difficult to set up those despawns. It just takes a bit of luck and practice. And of course, the Bracken fight can be very difficult if you're trying to do what I just did. So I recommend practicing it until you get a good feel of it for the most part. But if you could master that strat, Bracken is not going to be very much of a threat to you for the most part. But anyway, that's going to be it for this part 3. My apologies for what happened. My screen froze and I don't know what happened there, but I'm hoping that things will be a lot more better next time when I do part 4, which is England and the second bonus round. Just to make sure I have that restore point up. And thankfully we didn't get a crash this time, which I'm very grateful for. But anyway, I'll have this up, the part 3 up for either YouTube or summerspeedruns.com either tomorrow or sometime next week. But anyway, part 4 will be coming out a little bit later, either on Friday or so. And that's gonna be it for now. I will see you all next time. This is RotorStorm331 signing off. I'll see you a little bit later tonight for some more Monster Hunter. Have a great day.